Reports today that a showdown is imminent in Syria as the 17th-month conflict there appears to be coming to a head. As we await what could be the biggest battle since the start of the uprising there are new reports that the United States could be getting involved now. First, what's happening in Syria? Rebel leaders say that the largest city there, Aleppo, is under a constant barrage from mortars and shelling, all while soldiers fire guns from helicopters. The rebels claim that this offensive is not targeting strategic locations. Instead, the soldiers are firing randomly to cause a sense of terror in Aleppo. And today, a sad reminder of how difficult it is to escape the killing. In Jordan, a funeral for a 3-year-old boy shot and killed by Syrian soldiers as he and his family tried to cross the border. He was nearly at the border when he was killed, a bullet in his neck, according to witnesses. Jordanian border officials say they believe the soldiers targeted him to scare the others in his group. Tony Badran is a research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies and a columnist with NowLebanon.com. Tony, good to see you.
Pleasure.
So the report is showdown now in Syria. I mean, we've been watching the Syrian government battle its own, civilians,
right,
in addition to the opposition forces for 17 months now. What is it about today that has UN, Red Cross, Human Rights Watchers pulling out, telling their people, get out, it's about to get as bad as it's gotten?
Right. What we are seeing now is the result of events that took place last week when there was a major explosion that targeted the inner circle of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, killing his brother-in-law, which was the main target of the operation. And since then, there has been a surprise offensive by the rebel forces into the two strongholds of the regime, Damascus, the capital, and Aleppo, which is the second largest city, which has been largely loyal to the regime up until this moment. This is no longer the case. Now the rebels have made inroads into both these major cities, and what's been happening is that the regime has been mounting a counteroffensive, a brutal counteroffensive, the same type of offensive that it has been mounting elsewhere in the country, only now it's much closer to home.
Now, according to Reuters, there is a report that the White House has crafted a presidential directive called a finding that would authorize greater covert assistance for the rebels, while stopping short of arming them. Perhaps we would provide non-lethal supplies such as communications gear, medical equipment, and so on, although it is not clear whether the president has signed that directive yet. Right. Should the United States be getting more involved? Are we likely to?
I mean, the United States should definitely be involved. This is a strategic situation for the United States. It impacts our interest in the Middle East. Syria is Iran's lone strategic ally for the last 30-plus years. And so undercutting Iranian influence and this conduit of weapons from Iran to Hezbollah in Lebanon, for instance, is a major strategic interest for the United States. That said, there has been lots of leaks by the White House regarding this particular issue of some sort of a covert action to help coordinate some sort of non-lethal assistance to the rebel. That's been going on for months now. And the fact that now it's just coming out that there's a finding, but we're not even sure if the president signed it yet. It's just part of the course, basically, for the administration.
What does that tell you?
It's that the administration is very reluctant to get involved, does not want to get involved, and it's unfortunately been rather strategically short-sighted on this issue.
We've been talking about this a lot on the program because the report of what they're doing to the children over there is really just mind-numbing. I mean, it's incredible what they are doing to their children. And now, in fairness, we are hearing reports that the opposition forces are allegedly guilty of torture with respect to some children or some civilians as well. The reports thus far have been mostly focused on what the Assad regime is doing to the young ones. But now, maybe it's happening on both sides, and there is a question whether the world superpower has an obligation to step in and do something on behalf of the children who are not only being shot and killed, but starved and cannot get any humanitarian relief.
Right.
Having said all of that, there are reports this week that Al-Qaeda has now infiltrated the opposition, and we can't be arming Al-Qaeda. What are we to do?
Well, I think the reports about an Al-Qaeda infiltration of the opposition are grossly overblown. I don't think that that's an accurate assessment, that Al-Qaeda somehow is the primary actor.
Is that propaganda, or are you just saying it's been overblown?
Well, it's a little bit of both. I mean, this is not to deny that there are Islamist factions and jihadi factions in Syria, but they are by no means the driving force of this rebellion. And to say so is just simply not accurate. Unfortunately, this has been used by the administration as well to justify its complete lack of a policy. And this, the idea of that if we arm the opposition, we could be arming Al-Qaeda was something that Secretary Clinton said several months ago, in fact.
But do we really want to poke Iran in the eye by going into Syria, or not going in, but doing more?
Right. I mean, we're not going in. That's the idea. The idea is to do what the United States used to do in the past during the Cold War, when we backed factions in multiple proxy wars against the Soviet Union and against other enemies. And in this case, we have a very clear opportunity to undermine the Iranian strategic alliance in the Middle East, and that is a strategic priority, and the United States should be doing something about it.
Tony, thank you.
Thank you.